Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today I want to compare some brush tip markers for you and kind of help you out in deciding what markers might be right for you. So I'm only going to be looking at brush tip alcohol markers today. There's so many markers out there and they're really fun to try out, but I know that money's a concern and you don't want to buy things that you're not going to use. So I've kind of compiled some information over like probably the top 6 brush tip alcohol markers that are on the market right now, and hopefully it can help you out a little bit. Now, of course, by the time this video goes up, there'll probably be even more markers out, markers out on the market. I'm gonna triple for my words tonight, but this will give you a good place to start. So anyway, I grabbed a few markers that I had from my stash, and I actually went out and bought a couple markers that I didn't have because I wanted to make sure I was representing things fairly, and this is kind of what I came up with for markers to look at. We've got the Copic Sketch, and the Copic Sketch looks like this. We've got a chisel on one end, and you've got your brush tip on this end. And then we have our Prismacolors, and these are the same colors that are in their regular original Prismacolor art markers, except they have a brush tip. And here we can see this is on one end you got a bullet tip, which is different because most of them have chisel ends on the other end, and the other end has a brush tip, and we can compare. They're very similar in size. Since the Prismacolor tip is longer, it's actually going to feel a little softer when you color with it. But you can see when I put them side by side, you get about the same thickness of line when you're using it on the edge. I'm going to demo those too, but I just wanted to kind of show you what we're comparing here. Then we get the Tria Markers, and I found them to be the firmest out of all the markers that I used. But there's something unique about these. You've got your brush tip here, which looks a lot like a Copic. Then on the other end, you've got your chisel tip, which is nice. That's what a lot of these markers have. But then there's actually 2 ends on this, and this chisel nib actually feeds a fine tip bullet nib here. It's really fine. It's kind of like finer than an ultrafine Sharpie. I'll just kind of, so you can see it's like a pen. It's super fine. Let me lift that up for you. Can you see that? Super fine. So I really like that for that feature. These are a little more difficult to find, but the MSRP on this is $7.60, but I've actually seen these for under $2. I don't know why. I think that maybe they release them in spurts and then sell them out and then release them again. I'm not sure, but that's kind of nice if you can get a bargain on those. Another pen we're going to look at is the Chameleon Pen, and these are unique because you can get a gradation of color, and I'll show you that in a minute, but this is what their brush tip looks like, and the other end is a bullet. This is much smaller than the other tips, but it also feels like it's not the same material. I find it to be kind of firm and stiff and less kind of responsive, and that is the wide side that we get with the marker, and that's as fine as it gets with that brush end. Of course, we can use the bullet end and get a nice fine line, but it's just something to kind of consider. And this does come with replacement nibs, so if you do wear them down, you can replace them, and they do get softer with use, so they become a little bit more blendable and reflexive the more you use them. This one I hadn't tried before. I just picked this up for this review, and this is a Sharpie, and I paid $2 at AC Moore for this. They come in a range of 12 colors, and you can get a pack of 12 for I think about $16, so it's cheaper if you know you want them to get them all. And then last but not least, we have the Windsor & Newton new brush marker. Now these are actually the same thing as the Letraset Flex markers, but they've been rebranded. These are $5. When they were Letrasets, I think they were like $3 or $2.75 or something. So just to kind of keep that in mind. And these are very soft and flexible. I found them very nice to work with. So I just kind of wrote down the price, also the amount of markers that come in a set. The Copic has the largest range at 358 colors. Prismacolors have 152 in the brush line. Tria 200 about. I was kind of adding up what I saw on the website. I didn't see an actual number, but that's what I kind of roughly added up. Chameleon, it says 20 on their website, but I'm pretty sure they just did a Kickstarter and are coming out with more colors, and I'm thinking they're coming out with another 20, but don't quote me on that. But right now you can get 20. Sharpie's only 12, and the brush markers by Windsor & Newton they have a line of 72 in the brush marker. The Pro marker, which also was Letraset, has I think about 150. They've got more in that line, but that's what we got so far. I'm just going to pause the video for a second because a kid just came down here, and we'll do the demo in just a minute. Okay, the candy hearts, it was in my Still Life tutorial yesterday. My kids found them, so they were asking if they could eat them. which I let them, some of them anyway. Okay, some of the candies, not some of the kids. I won't give some kids candy and not the others. That would just be mean. All right, so what we're gonna do is just a little demo here. And first I'm gonna grab a Copic. And the great thing is these markers actually all work really well together since it's the same kind of ink. So you can see that's how wide it is. There we go with the lines. If I just kind of tap it, we get these nice long teardrops. So there you can see that you have a lot of flexibility with just this one nib. But then if I wanted to blend it with something, say I wanted to blend it with a brush marker, because that's what I had, I can easily take the tip here and I can go along that edge, lift up that color, and I can blend it right in and blend it right out. I'm working on marker paper, so it's going to be a little bit more puddly, but you could still get the idea, and you could use this on whatever cardstock you want to use for your card making, because this is really a really thin paper. It doesn't bleed through, which is really fun and nice for illustration, but I think for stamping you'd actually want your cardstock, because like you can see kind of the lines where it puddles there, and again these are reds and purples and they're harder to blend, but you can see they kind of work well together. I'll just show you Copic on Copic here just so you can see. Going with this, and this is actually the Windsor Newton Pro Marker pad, so you know you can see those blend really well too. But it does puddle. You can actually go back into you can go into wet marker and even lift it and pull it around, which is kind of fun on this paper, I have to say. Just make sure if you do that, you scribble off your marker on a scrap, because you will have some staining on the nib. You want to scribble off that extra so you don't have a surprise the next time you use your marker. Okay, so that was a Copic. Now let's look at the Prismacolor, and I kind of regret buying such a light color, but it was $5.50 and I had to pay full price, and I hate paying full price, but you get a nice wide reflexive mark there, which you probably can't see because it's really light, and then you know a nice fine bullet tip on the other end. But let me just grab a Copic here, and we'll do some blending. I don't think this one's too dark, so we get that kind of cocoa color, and then I can go in with my Prismacolor marker and just blend it right on out, mix it right up. See, they liquefy each other really well, so you don't have to stick to one brand, especially if you're new or your budget's tight. Buy a couple in different colors from different brands, hold the marker, see how it feels in your hands, and that will help you decide. Now the Trias definitely feel a bit stiffer, so I can get that nice wide line, but if I'm on the tip, look at that, I'm getting a really fine line. So I can color it like that. I can grab, let me see, oh you know what, let me grab a Chameleon pen, let's try that. I can grab that and I can work into it and blend it out. That's probably too big of a jump because you can see how it's, you know, how it had a line there, but there, that did blend out pretty well. And there's a way you can kind of work those two markers together. Now, of course, the Tria I mentioned has the chisel nib and also the fine nib. And Trias are refillable. Copics are refillable. The Prismacolors are not. The Sharpies are not. Here's the Sharpie. We'll get right to this. Nice and juicy. Not quite so much detail, and it's only one side, so you only get definition. You only get a range. That's the word, between that width and that width. You don't have the really fine lines. But again, you know what? You can use it with your other markers. You can blend them out. You know, you can really have a lot of fun with these, and they're certainly a great price, but you know, you're not going to have as much detail if you're getting into really fine things, but you could always buy like a pack of fine tip Sharpies and kind of bridge the gap that way. So that's nice. And then last but not least, we have the brush marker. This is one right here. Again, it was the Letraset Flex, and now it's a Windsor Newton brush. So that's on the side. We get that nice fine line. I'm having a really hard time talking tonight. It's kind of late. You get that wide line, you get a really fine line on the tip, and then if you want finer or more control, you can go on the edge of the chisel. Actually, it doesn't really give you that much more detail, but oh, that's interesting. Your brush marker gives you a chisel tip on the opposite end, and if you want a very similar marker but you want a bullet, then go for the Prismacolor, because they're very similar, but the Prismacolor has a bullet on the other end, which is really handy. And if you like the ink from the brush markers, which they told me at Windsor Newton is the same as the Letraset Pro markers, that's also the same ink as in the Tria markers, so you can those are all the same, even color lines if you want to match exactly, which is kind of nice. And so we've gone through all of this, and I want to talk about the prices here. I know I mentioned it before, but these are a big varying range, and of course this is MSRP, and if you shop around you'll get them for much less, but I just want to kind of show you how they rank out. The Sharpie, of course, cheapest at $2 a marker, or if you are going to buy a set of 12, I think it's about 16. The brush markers from Windsor & Newton, formerly Letraset, are $5 each. Trias are $7.60. Chameleons are $6 a pen. Oh, and there was something I wanted to show you about these. So let me get a darker color so it will really show up. So what you have here, which is unique, is you've got this kind of like a clear blender in this chamber here, and then you have your brush tip. So what you do is you put your brush tip on there and you tip the chamber up like this. You tip the whole pen up, and then the alcohol blending solution here in there is actually wicking down into the tip of the marker, and the longer you hold it like this, the longer blend you'll get. So hopefully that is nice and juicy and it's wicking it down through there. You got to make sure you hold it up like this, and then when you color, you can get this nice gradation from light to dark. See that? It's kind of let me hold it up so it's not shiny. But see, it's a very easy way to get that subtle blending if you don't have very many markers or you're not very experienced with markers. I got into that green, so I was just scribbling off the tip. And then you oops, you don't want to leave it on there. Then you've also got a bullet tip on the end, which is nice, and it's a nice fine detail tip, and you do get extra replacements for the brush end tip. You get like 10 replacements in your pack, and you can buy more if you need to. I haven't gone through any, but I haven't really used them that much to really warrant that. And then with whatever one of these you choose, it doesn't really matter. You can get the blender. All these blenders will work together. This is just a Pro Marker one, and this is what the old Pro Markers look like. You might have some of these, or you might see some that say Flex Marker, but that's the same as the Windsor & Newton brush marker. But like, you can lift up color and blend it out. You can erase color. You can make like dots and spots in your, your designs. You make mermaid scales, dragon scales. Move color around. It's just a way that you can get a little more use out of your markers. It actually works really good as an eraser, more like an eraser or a highlighter than actually blending your colors together, but it's definitely something you want to pick up if you're going to do alcohol markers. So you're probably thinking, Lindsay, Frugal Crafter, what would you do? What would you suggest for a beginner that doesn't have very much money? Well, what I usually suggest is that you start off with something like a Sharpie. It doesn't have to be the Sharpie brush markers. If you have Sharpies already, use those. And what you're going to notice with the line of like Sharpies or Bic Markets or anything like that is that you're going to have your really, really bright colors. That's what comes out in those markers. But to get the blending looks that you see from like illustrators or rubber stampers, you're going to need some light colors. So what I did when I started out is I got a big pack of 36 Bic Markets, and then I went to the store and I bought some really light color Prismacolors and a blender marker, so then I could like kind of blend in with those bright colors and get a larger range of colors. So that's what I recommend. You can pick whatever brand you want to pick those light colors up in. If you think you're going to do a lot of work and you're going to refill those colors, Copic offers refill inks, Tria offers refill inks, Chameleon offers refill inks. And again, I'm just talking about the markers that offer a brush currently. Actually, you know what? I think Spectrum Noir has brush nibs you can put on their new generation markers, and they offer refill inks. I don't have any of the brush tip markers from Spectrum Noir, but there you go. There's another option. And I think those definitely are cheaper than many of these. But so it just depends. If you know you're going to use like tons of a certain color of marker, like maybe Robin's Egg Blue, that's a color I use a lot. So I would want to get that in a Copic and get a refill. If it's something I'm not going to use that much, or one of those really bright colors that just you never seem to use up, then maybe get that in a Prismacolor or a brush marker or a Sharpie or something that I know I'm not going to use that much. I don't need the best that you can get. Also consider how it feels to hold these. Like these sketch markers I think are very comfortable, but they actually have a skinnier marker called the Chow, and it's cheaper and it has the same tips and nibs, I mean, and since it has less ink in it, it's cheaper, but you can still refill it and you can still have those advantages for about $4 a marker. So at least it used to be. I didn't just check that price, so it may be more, but there's another option for you. So that's why I recommend that when you're beginning, that you order like one or two of a couple different brands, you hold them, you color with them, you see how you like them before investing in like 20 or 30 markers from one brand, because you may have like 100 Prismacolors and try a Copic and like, oh, I wish I had saved up and got the Copics because they just feel so much better in my hand, or vice versa. Everybody's different. And the best thing is, as I showed you when we were just kind of playing and fooling around and blending, they're all going to work together. All of these alcohol markers are going to work together. So, but you can't take like a watercolor marker and mix it in here with these markers. They won't work together, but all the alcohol markers will work together. Capiche? Okay, so this is the same philosophy I use with colored pencils. So before I invest in a big set of colored pencils, because you usually get the best price with the big set, but before I buy that big set, I'm gonna buy some samples basically. So what I would do, like for instance, Derwent Studio, I bought a few of these open stock. I didn't really care for them. Bought a few Derwent color softs. I love them, so of course I bought a larger set of color softs. Same thing with the Polychromos, Faber-Castell Polychromos. I bought a couple of these, tried them, loved them, so I bought the full set. So that way you can make really smart purchases. And if you're buying colors that you're going to use anyway, more than likely, those are the colors you're gonna wear out from your big sets, and you will get around to using these. But this is kind of like my tin of misfit oddball pencils, ones that I tried. Like I tried there was a pencil that I thought would be close to Prismacolor, and they were a store brand pencil, and I found them to be very dry and not very blendable, so luckily I only spent a couple bucks instead of, you know, buying a set at $60 or $70. So it's just a really smart way to operate if you're gonna buy anything in a big set. Try a couple, see if you like it. I didn't intend this video to be so long, but I hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, please leave them in the video description. I'll try to put links to all of these markers in the video description so you can find them. Some might be affiliate links, so just so you know. In fact, I'll probably link you to Letraset, to the Flex markers, because I think some are still available and they're cheaper than buying them as Winsor Newton brush markers. So if you can, you know, save a little bit, then that is a good thing. But there you have it. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And until next time, happy crafting.